Hi everyone, it's your favorite Muslim guy, Assalam. Today we're going to be doing the 9 axis test, which is similar to the religious test I took, except for this is purely political instead of religious. So, like every two of these are their opposites, and each set of these is what they're judging based off of. So, let's get started. You'll be presented with a series of statements for each one. Click the button with your opinion on it. Ooh. We'll do the short one for now because, I only have a limited window to make this video. But if you guys are interested, just comment and let me know if you want me to do the full, most accurate one. It's important that we maintain the traditions of our past. Strongly agree. This is a very difficult question for me. Concerned, about people coming over to your country, or caring about what happens to them or their welfare. Because if it's concerned about them coming to your country, strongly agree. Concerned about their welfare, I'm gonna have to disagree. I don't do strongly because if they're doing bad, they're having a famine, yeah, you should help. You should help your neighbor. You shouldn't be a dick. So I'm just gonna go with disagree because I think that it's talking about their welfare. Overall, it shouldn't matter, but if they're suffering and it's a famine, you should help them. I do support regional unions such as the European Union, but the thing about it is, I feel like those unions should have a common culture and language, common, not something overall arching as the EU. But I do support regional unions. So instead of strongly agree, I'm just gonna do regular agree. Uh, I strongly disagree. It's purely a decision making process, and it is actually horrible for that. Mm, that's the thing, right? So your budget should be balanced, and the state should be able to ensure welfare for its citizens. It's not give or take. This is the purpose of government, right? Because that's the government's job. That's why we have a government, to maintain infrastructure and other things, because welfare just isn't food stamps for my conservative friends. Welfare means citizens infrastructure and everything. It encompasses all things that deal with a citizen's life. So I want to say strongly agree, but overall I'm going to have to disagree because it should be both. It's not one or the other. Strongly disagree. War usually, after the war is over, usually leads to an economic boost. Strongly disagree. Strongly disagree. Strongly disagree. We have the right to military intervene for any reason as long as it suits our own interests. Strongly agree. It is the government's job to protect consumers because corporations will do the shittiest stuff they can do. Hell, even small businesses will try to get away with shit. I'm just gonna agree with that because cooperation is great and all, but conflict is what drives innovation. See, the thing is, police should have to wear body cams and they should have regulation, but at the same time, it's about the way you regulate something. Like the way police are regulated in America, it's like gun control. Gun control in of itself wouldn't be bad if done properly. Like, say, teaching every citizen how to safely maintain and use a firearm, keeping the mentally insane from having firearms. But instead, they do sweeping generalizations of accessories for firearms that do nothing and cause not and cause like non-criminal citizens to go through hell to get a gun, which is stupid. So I'm just gonna go neutral, unsure for this because like the regulation isn't the problem; it's the way which you regulate. See, I want to agree, but it's not the technology itself; it is the society. It's not the technology; it is the society. So I'm gonna say strongly disagree. See, like the local state, like I'm confused on this one, and it's like it's not confusion; it's kerfuffled. Like because to me, your local state should be your country because the way America works, each state is supposed to be its own separate country. So I mean, like I'm just gonna go neutral, unsure. Strongly disagree. In fact, most nations should a lot of stuff should be handled by the military that isn't. For instance, infrastructure. The Army Corps of Engineers would do a great job maintaining highways. I'm just gonna lightly disagree because sometimes diplomacy does get in the way when a force of arms is necessary. International aid is a waste of money, as you see with like Ukraine, Africa. All the corrupt bureaucrats wind up taking it. I'm only gonna see. This is a hard one because if you call any and everybody who disagrees with the government a terrorist, obviously it would be strongly disagree. But there are legitimate threats to civilians that are terrorists, and like our government to have access to do something about it. But then you could be like in the case of American, anything that disagrees with whoever's in office is called a terrorist, and the media is used to stir up hatred and like compliance and consent to harass them. So it's like it's a very hard thing. So I'm just gonna go with neutral, unsure. I strongly disagree with that because it's just flat out the. I hate double questions like this. Like democracy is just flat out the worst type of government. No, I'm just gonna disagree because like you shouldn't be forced to accept anything you don't like. Lightly agree because like all the measures to enforce its laws, it would be like determining like it'd be like the type of law. Like if it was a misdemeanor, like you shouldn't shoot somebody in the face for it. But if it's like rape or murder, I'm okay with executions in the public square. So it's like I'm gonna like just agree, not strongly agree. Strongly agree. If we do accept migrants, they should have the courtesy to assimilate. Yes, actually, I do support universal health care. The government, to me, like, it's not even to me. Like, the founders said when they wrote the American Constitution that separation of church and state applies to the federal government meddling with the church, not the other way around. Because if you're a Christian or any religion, really, you are a member of a church first. Your religion comes first. Everything else is second. And our founders said that America and its laws and freedoms can only exist so long as a morally. I'm trying to say it's not morally religious, but like religious, moral people are the only people that can maintain America. Yes, immigrants should be expected to learn the language of the country they inhabit. If I went to Japan, I would learn Japanese. See, like, I want to like strongly agree, but what about those who can't work? Or what about when there's an economic downturn because we have like unregulated capitalism and they send all the jobs overseas to make a quick profit, and now like your economy's in a slump, nobody can find work. Like that would be a terrible idea. So like it should be strongly agree if you lived in like a golden age where there was a plethora of work to do and people just wanted to skim off the government, it should be that. But because we don't live in a perfect world and it's chaotic, it just depends on the type of economic prosperity, like the level of economic prosperity that we're in. So because that's kind of like a catch-22, I'm just gonna go with neutral and not sure. I wouldn't say to provide for the poor. I'm going to say strongly agree with this, but I want to add a caveat. It's not to provide for the poor, it is to increase the access to certain infrastructure, to certain, like for instance, building railroads, repairing bridges, laying electric lines, which mostly the electric lines thing has been done since like the 1930s, but like mainly telephone, internet, and cable, which allows business like smaller businesses to have a reach further than what they usually would. So I'm gonna go strongly agree with that caveat. No, there should be one law for every person, regardless of culture. Not just defense, just to enforce the will of the people and the interest of that nation. See, this is where it gets fucked up because like I despise automation, but if we used it properly and we maintained a human element within like the computer control system instead of just automating it, then this sentence would be 100% true. Because I think about stuff like power armor, mech suits, futuristic medicines and nanobots that can cure diseases. That's what I think about. But in all actuality, because of the type of like government styles that exist in the modern world, because it doesn't matter if you look at capitalism or communism, either one of those would remove the worker and enslave the people around them and be used for corporate or government control. So like I want to strongly agree because of what I know and what I see from technology as somebody who went to school for certain technological fields, but based on how it would be used, it's just got to be a strongly disagree. Yeah, I believe every male serve at least 2 years in the military. Yes, that's the thing. It's our duty as religious people to help the poor as well. That's why I believe like that's why in the last test I said I believe in theocracies. I strongly disagree. Strongly disagree. The mob is full of idiots. I do think theocracy is good. See, this is the thing. Like, objectively speaking, illegal immigrants do provide a benefit to the host country. It's just in the form of near slave wages, which ultimately is not a benefit for the country. Like, in order to have a prosperous nation, you have to have a strong tax base, which means ever increasing wages. And that's the thing. Like a strong tax base with ever increasing wages, like people get mad and go, "Oh, it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that." Why? Why not? Because everything from corporations to small business relies on the military, police, and the infrastructure such as bridges, roads, electricity, and water supply to conduct business. And last time, like I use this a lot, and people call me a nerd. The game Crusader Kings. It depicts what a libertarian world would be. We would literally just be somewhere between the medieval ages and the Renaissance with guns if the world was libertarian. Like Italy, for instance, when it was disunified during the Renaissance, it was overran with private mercenaries and private security, and they could never get anything done, and it was a fucking shithole. Oh, but we had all these technological advances. Yeah, and it would have been so much fucking better if there was actually a state there to keep the peace instead of mercenaries fighting each other in the streets. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to digress that hard. I'm gonna have to say just disagree because like they do objectively provide a benefit, but it destroys the tax base. And when I say tax base, I'm actually also talking about private economy because where there's a huge tax base, there's also that means there's also a thriving private economy because the higher your taxes, the more money you're going to make, and the more money you make, the more you're able to spend and disposable income. Like you only have high taxes where you have high disposable income. If not, then I understand the reason for revolution. So I'm just going to go just minor disagree because they objectively do provide a benefit, but overall it hurts the nation. I absolutely disagree with this because of what I said about how they'll label anybody a terrorist. See that's the thing. Like a lot of traditional medicines where I'm from is literally just the active ingredients in Western medicine. So I'm gonna lightly agree because like the factories that make Western medication, they typically have the know-how to make it safer and make it stronger. So this agree isn't because I'm thinking like crystals and fucking lipo and not liposuction, but that suction treatment and other stuff like hippy dippy new age stuff. I'm talking about like cinnamon for controlling diabetes and blood pressure low because that's actually an active ingredient in some low blood pressure medicines. The cinnamon or the or chromium, which is in cinnamon. No, the United Nations, and I'm against the United Nations because not one. It's not one state. It's a worldwide collective of states, and they shouldn't have a military to enforce its resolutions at all. But at most, I'm willing to accept would be volunteer peacekeepers to make sure that people aren't committing war crimes. And even this is why, like, if I were to believe that we were to have something like the U.S., I believe like the senators should only be um advisors for the federal government. To be honest, no, yes, disagree. Uh, the majority should be in power, so I'm going to strongly disagree. Yeah, nobody should be exempt from the state. Well, I'm gonna go quiet and read my and let you guys read my results. And thanks for watching. Comment and let me know what you think. I really like these results, and I actually tend to agree with them. Except for I'm not for equality. Like it's not really equality that I'm after. It's for giving people an opportunity to make a living and have self determination. Because like I fully understand capitalism, and I do believe that like a free market or a free ish market is able to better distribute goods than anything else.